Oh, hello everyone. We are back for another episode after missing 2 weeks. Unfortunately, couldn't be avoided. Well, I guess it could have been, but I didn't. Was on the road for work for 2 weeks in a row, including some night shift activity and some other things. And it came down with something in the middle of it and just didn't feel well. And just the 2 days that I was at home during that 2 week stretch, I just didn't want to do anything. So I didn't. So tonight, Eric came on at very short notice to bail me out to help get an episode out, so it wouldn't be 3 weeks without one. So hey, Eric, how you doing?
Goodly. Yeah, short notice.
Yeah, Hearn's mad because he's pulling into the parking lot of a restaurant as we fired this thing up. It's like 5 minutes notice, 5 minutes. Oh, well, John, is it a good restaurant? Because if it's not, then just skip it and get on
Or
board.
wait. Hit,
Yeah,
hit the hotel, jump in, and then go get something to eat.
yeah. Well, of course, he is in Florida, so he's on East Coast time. And on Sunday night at 8 o'clock, it's probably
Oh,
not going to be
yeah.
much opportunity to do anything later. But anyway, um, Beretta introduced a A300 and 20 gauge
Yes, they
recently.
did.
And, there had long been talk about, people wanting a 1301 or the A300 or something in 20 gauge. My opinion has always been until there's a steady supply of quality 20 gauge buckshot on par with flight control, that I would have no interest whatsoever. Um, I know there's now been a flight control buckshot introduced. I will
Yep.
leave it to you to discuss whether or not it is on par with the 12 gauge and if it's readily available, and then your overall impressions of the A300 and 20 gauge.
So let's talk the ammo issue first, right? That's been the big complaint. It has been looking for a good defensive load on it. Federal came out, apparently it shot with it. Um, I've got a 20 gauge 590 down at Vang being worked up as a student loaner gun. I first saw the A300 20 gauge at Thunderstick last fall. One of the folks from Beretta had it out there, and it was very much a friend DA thing. Like, you can see it, you just don't take photos, don't talk about it, right? Okay. So got on the list for one. It shot, picked one up 10 days ago, right? It showed up and I was able to get it. Um, Along the way, I picked up a case of the Federal Flight Control and 20 gauge, number two buck. It was not cheap, but with those two guns coming in, I figured let me just lay in the stash for spending time with it. Once I got the gun, I went and picked up a case, a 7.5 birdshot for it, and then headed to the range. Um, if you go to the article on AmericanCop.com, it's the headline article right now for it. Will be until probably Wednesday. It'll get replaced. And you can see the patterns with it. So I shot two shells at each distance, 5, 10, 15 yards. I think the largest pattern was maybe 5 by 6, and that was back at 15. Stuff on the head was 1.5 inches, and that was not only all the pellets, but the two shot cups. So, um, yes, if that load holds up, right? And I didn't go farther back with it because this was just the initial impressions to get it on the range
Mhm.
with it. Shot slugs, they were a bit high. I think that's probably more a factor of the optic I put on not being zeroed to it. I didn't even try to zero it. I just put it on, took it to the range, more for grouping. Um, I'll get that zeroed and go. Interesting numbers on the chronographs. The Federal True Ball slugs were hotter than the Sterling slugs. I ran through it. I ran through some Winchester PDX with it, but I wasn't patterning. I was just looking for function. I'll pattern it down the road with that. Um, there were some issues quality control wise with the gun coming out, right? And I think that's because they're trying to rush them out. They were all three things I could fix at the end user level because I've seen them before and I knew what they were. The glaringly obvious one though was that the shroud on the bolt release was not there, so it's just a bare metal bolt release. The other two I can see getting missed, right? But
Yeah,
that one kind of stands out since it's right next to where the serial number is. Right,
yeah.
somebody should have got it. Um, that said, it didn't. None of them impacted the gun running under live fire.
All right.
So they were all rectified. Gun ran just fine under live fire for what it was, which was get it out, function test it, with the flight control, the true ball slugs, the Winchester personal defense load, the Sterling slugs, and then a box of number 7.5 bird.
How did the gun handle? How was recoil comparable to the 12 gauge? Because one of the arguments that I've always heard against going to a 20 gauge is, all right, you go to a smaller, lighter gun, and that just negates, you know, the impact because you're still shooting buck and then you still get the felt recoil, you still get all the other.
Okay, so I am not a small human by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination. I'm a full size mammal for those of you who have not seen me before. I can run push pull with semi auto guns, and I do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there was no issue with that. Shooting it when I was chronographing it, right? So I was working off a rest on the back of my truck. No issue, no perceived issue though. If you catch the very last photo in the article, which I put in there because it got the muzzle flash, right? That one does look like there was an impact, but it was more just me reacting to the gun going bang.
Yeah.
I didn't notice anything adverse with it. Didn't feel like, there's some loads like you go shoot a 3-inch full power magnum load out of a full size gun and you notice it. I didn't notice anything like that with these.
Okay.
Not with the true ball slugs, which were warmer than I thought they would be on the
All
ground.
right. So if the flight control 20 gauge ammo proves to be available and proves to be viable,
Yes.
um, is this a platform that smaller stature people should consider?
I believe so. I mean, I'll know more with
Okay.
it over time and when I get it into some other people's hands, but I believe that
Right.
it will turn out that way.
All right. Cool. At this point in my shooting life, I don't know that I'm going to spend the money on going to a 20 gauge.
Yeah.
Had one been available before I got so deeply immersed in 12s, I might would have been all over it. And the aforementioned ammo issue, I don't have a problem with the recoil of a 12 gauge. So I'm not looking for an alternative there, but I am interested in it for smaller clients and the like, if it proves to be viable.
Where I have the interest in the 20 gauge is a loaner guns for students and being
Mhm.
able to comment with some level of authority on them for folks in that world, right? Um, it's not necessarily something I'd employ at this point. Now, 10 years down the road,
Yeah.
at 70, that could be a thing, right? I could be starting to go, I don't really need to run a full size 12 gauge gun with everything hanging off of it, right? Maybe a lighter 20 gauge with a pistol, with a traditional pistol light on it is sufficient for my
Mhm.
needs where I'm at that point, right? We would see.
Well, there you go. That's longer than 10 years down the road for me. So
I will not hold your lack of experience against you. I think that was the
yeah,
way Reagan framed it with Mondale.
I won't hold your youth and lack of experience against you or something like that.
I was close.
Yeah. Uh, I grew up shooting 20 gauge. That's the only shotguns we had in the house. Um, I've mentioned before that I grew up in a very extended family and grew up next door to my grandmother on the family farm. My paternal grandfather actually passed away before I was born,
Okay.
but he was a small statured man. Was 5'7", probably 135, 140 pounds, and he had taken a Winchester Model 12 in 20 gauge
Mm-hmm.
and took the butt plate off of it and shortened the butt stock to where he wanted it and put the butt plate back on it and sawed the barrel off to the length that he wanted the barrel sawed off. And it's still legal, still legal. And
I wasn't going to ask.
yeah, uh, that gun was at my grandmother's house
Okay.
and it was available to all of us to use if we needed it. And let me tell you, that gun has seen a lot of recreational use, but it's also seen some very functional use as well. One story my grandmother always told me is that when my father was a little boy, um, that she and my great grandmother were with him out on the carport and had him in the little carrier stroller thing, whatever, bassinet, and that a rabid fox came up and that they grabbed him and ran inside. And there was a back porch on this house that had a screen door, and the fox was trying to come through the screen door, and my grandfather met it on the other side of the door with that 20 gauge, and solved the problem. Um,
Wait, you're unlike Wayne Dobbs. Your father didn't shoot it off your grandfather's lap.
no,
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 okay,
my grandfather got it as it was trying to come through the screen door. Um, as middle school aged
okay,
me, I used it to kill a rabbit coon that was fighting my dogs.
okay,
One of my cousins used it on one occasion to take out a fox again, on the backside of the property, and it may have had more uses than that, but it's still there, still in the family, and um, it's got kind of a place of honor
yeah.
because
Oh yeah.
it was my grandfather's, and then all of us have used it growing up. I did not get it in the passing downs, but I did get my father's 20 gauge, which was the first gun that I ever shot, and it was a Sears Ted Williams
Okay,
20 gauge, which was actually a high standard Flight King, and that was the first gun that I ever shot. I was like 6 years old,
okay.
and uh, I got that when I lost my father a couple of years ago, and so the 20 is something I grew up with. It's something
Yeah.
that's near and dear to me. My father once told me, I asked him why he didn't have a 12. And he said, well, I bought a 12 when I was youthful and dumb. And as I got older and more intelligent and mature, I went to a 20 gauge. And when I was youthful and dumb, I ran out and bought a 12.
Yeah.
And maybe at some point I'll be more intelligent, mature, and go to the 20. Um, but it's just this, I've always wondered why there wasn't a viable buckshot lead.
Well, so that was interesting. The Winchester PDX that I picked up is a number 3 buck.
Hmm.
So just even that, the differences, right? I'll tell you my
Yeah.
biggest complaint:
Yeah.
ammo manufacturers, stop making every 20 gauge load in a yellow hull. Stop. Bring the whole color palette like everybody else did with the 12 gauge.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they're doing that in part to try to keep people from mixing 20 gauge shells in with the 12s.
I understand, right? Because like I had a
Right.
16 gauge shell that I missed, right? Like I
Hmm.
just didn't catch that's what it was, and
Yeah.
I've got photos of it a fair distance down the barrel right before I knocked it out.
Hmm.
Fortunately, I figured out what happened.
Yeah.
Um, but the problem now is with everything in bright yellow in 20 gauge, what's a slug, what's buck, what's
Yeah.
bird,
Yeah.
right? That's where my concern is. Um, find colors that aren't in common use in the
Hmm.
12 gauge world and go to those in the 20,
Yeah.
right?
Now, I will say for critter control, I made effective use of some number two turkey shot in
Okay.
3-inch Magnum in my father's 20 gauge numerous times. Um, but, that's against small critters and um, not 200, as Tom Gibbons would say, 200-pound assholes.
Yeah.
It's and plus back then I didn't know anything about effective patterning and
Oh yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But it handled what I needed it to handle. Um, growing up shooting them, I didn't know that you wanted as tight a pattern as possible for a defensive load and everything else. But
It,
anything else on the 20?
now, um, now, like I said, I didn't have an issue working with it. Function fine with all the loads that I had.
Hmm.
Push pull worked. Pull, which is more common method for me.
Yeah.
Ran fine with it. I do the it was two different slugs, two very different muzzle velocities, same optic. They printed fairly close to each other. They were just high, and I'm going
Yeah.
to blame the fact that I didn't do anything with the optic other than
Okay.
throw it on the gun for the fact they were high.
Um, Now patterning is only part of it. What have you seen as far as penetration or anything with the book?
So I was shooting the dreaded cardboard,
Yeah.
right? I was just shooting single layer shoot still targets, and putting them on steel as well. So I will have to find a way to look at the penetration testing. I haven't gone out to look at anything on that. I haven't even looked at federal site to see if they have anything up on it.
Stand by for a second. Paging Dr. Roberts. Paging Dr. Gary Roberts.
I think that load's so new, Gary probably hasn't had time to do anything with it.
Yeah.
And
Um,
last time I talked with Gary about stuff at where he works, it's an interesting world. So I don't know how much free time he has.
yeah. I'm curious about two things. If one, the load proves to be viable and available, if that's going to spur, say, Winchester and some of the others to try to come out with a comparable load. Um, how long before the accessory market's going to catch up?
Um, so this has got a number of the things on it already. It
Mhm.
while the receiver ships slick, it comes with the Velcro to attach to the left hand side of the receiver to mount a shell holder
Mhm.
on. If you want to go
Mhm.
that route. So, all right, talked to Cody at Vang and Sam Dazonia down at the Wilderness. She's
Mhm.
already been sewing 20 gauge shell cards for Cody, or her company has been.
Yeah.
Was sending me a couple, three of them that were leftovers from the run for me to use with the follow-on testing with it. Right, slings aren't going to be an issue. Lights aren't going to be an issue. It's not like the old days of the Surefire four ends, right, where
Yeah.
it was going to be one ginormous piece. So the good news is you can attach to the forum that Beretta is using. That's the nice thing about that A300 forum from Beretta.
Good.
So there's that. Probably the only thing I would say that I would run out and replace if I wasn't using an optic is their sights, and it's because it's a non-adjustable rear, which is the
Mhm.
same thing that Mossberg has done. Right, and Mossberg's talking with Jeremy at Mossberg when we were at their unveiling of all the Pro Series guns a while back, about 18 months ago.
Mhm.
They said, look, we're not seeing a need to do a whole bunch of adjusting on the rears on the pros. Now, I was shooting them and getting some deviation I would have liked to have been able to adjust versus having the Kentucky windage.
Mhm.
But okay, if they've got the math for a bunch of people, I'm not going to fight them on it.
Um, which object are you running on again?
I have got a Vortex Defender XL with their mount on it, their Picatinny rail mount. So it's
Okay.
not, so you've got the rail, you got the receiver, you've got the rail, you've got their rail mount, and then you've got the
Mhm.
optic. So it does sit high, right? I prefer
Okay.
stuff that sits as flush as possible.
All right.
There are options out there for it. I've just, at this point, I don't have spare ones sitting on the safe, to throw stuff on.
Uh, would the mount from Eridas work on that gun?
Yeah, it should.
Okay.
Should their A300 Crom mount should work. I
Okay.
just got one of those in there that I actually want to slap on a gun. So I think I've got some Reptilla mounts in the box, at least one. I may throw that on there and go that route.
Um, I've heard some people say they've had problems with optic durability on the 12. Do you think that would be less of an issue on the 20?
I don't know because the only optics I've broken on a 12 gauge shotgun were from one specific offshore manufacturer, Holosun, and I broke two different versions of that. So I've broken both 407s and 507s on 12
Mhm.
gauge shotguns. Um, I have not broken aim points or Trigicons on shotguns, right? And there, whether it's a pump gun or it's a semi-auto, you don't have a slide slamming the optic back and
Yeah.
forth, right? You have recoil that's happening underneath for the most
Mhm.
part, right? Or internally to the gun, not the optic. So I'm not sure why they have failed, right? Um, it'll be something to be interesting to see because I'm going to keep a dot on this gun throughout the whole testing.
Okay.
So if I can keep it as that Vortex Defender, then I'll just stay with that and see what happens.
The only shotgun that I have an optic on it is a 1301 that has an H1 aim point mounted at a Crom mount. And I don't have enough rounds
Yeah.
through that gun to set up to even come close to to hope that if it can't survive the amount of rounds I put to that gun, then we've got serious problems. But
Now, on a totally unrelated related issue, I
mm,
have two used aim point shotgun sights that have come in recently. That I'm
okay,
that those are the ones that go on the vent rib barrel. So as I've got a
okay,
couple projects going, those will start to see use. So,
okay, cool, cool. I'm excited to see the excuse me, the optic manufacturer starting to address some of the things with the shotguns.
yeah.
But yeah, I know that the ship forged carbines sailed a long time ago, but there's still some of us that hang on
Yeah.
to.
There's Vortex has an interesting shotgun optic. I've been trying to get my hands on one for a while, and they're in such demand that it's been hard to get my hands on one. I may just have to like break down and buy it at retail. So, um, and the only reason I say that is because I'm trying to get it to review it for an article, right? So I'm hoping for a little bit of a break from them on that.
Oh man, speaking of sites that go on the vent rib, oh man, when I was a teenager, I ordered, I think, from Gander Mountain, this site that you had, it was like a clamp,
Mm-hmm.
and you take it apart and set it down and clamp it over. It was like a rectangle open sight that went on the vent rib, and I
Yep.
put one of those on that shotgun that my father had, the Ted Williams, and I just would put whatever I was going to shoot in that and shoot it. And you know, I don't have a fighting shotgun with a vent rib barrel. If I did, I might would take it off that gun and put it on that. It's rock.
So the aesthetics of the vent rib barrel on a
Hmm.
defensive gun for me are just way cool. And I know exactly why. Louis Auerbach's shotgun book from the late 80s, right? Because he's showing his gun with the vent rib barrel. And I've always thought
Yeah.
that was just visually the coolest thing. And my old work gun, which I think I'm finally at a point where I'm like going to retire it because it's just been shot so much. It has a 1994 Vang barrel on it with the vent rib, right? But we cut the vent rib to fit in the patrol car racks and to take the scattergun front sight where it's pinned and soldered in at that end.
Mhm.
It's just incredibly cool looking. Well, I've got a vent rib 1187 in the safe that's going to go to Vang, and a vent rib left hand 870 that's already been to Vang. Right. And I'm just like, I've got to get those things set up and take them out and work with them some. But yeah,
Why would you buy a left-handed shotgun when a right-handed shotgun is set up perfectly for a lefty?
I know I hear that all the time. And I know right handers who have the left handed guns so they can just
Yeah.
load right into the ejection port.
Hmm.
Um, I just like having the left handed stuff. It's like I got a left hand Panerai watch, right? That sits on my wrist with the winder here, not here, right?
Okay.
So I get some of the left handed stuff just to have the left handed stuff. Like if I've told this story before. Don't think here. When I was a poor, very underemployed college student, I came across a left-hand Randall in a local gun store. It was $500 at the time. Like, and I just could not find a single way to afford that. And I kick myself, right? I couldn't have done it. But if I could find that left-hand Randall, right, I'd buy it in a heartbeat, no matter what it costs these days. But back then, I just couldn't pull it off, and I wish I had one. So
All right. Well, on to another note. I saw a unicorn today.
you told me about that.
Yeah, I saw a unicorn today. I shot a Glock match this morning, and I had a failure to feed in a Gen 519 with the koa on top of it.
That's impossible.
Impossible. Um, and it's funny, like all the things, like when you're practicing clearing malfunctions, you know the malfunction's coming. So when you
Mm-hmm.
press the trigger and it clicks, you immediately go to the tap and then the rack, as is properly done to clear a malfunction. Um, I did break the gun down out of my mount and look into the injection port to see what was going on when it didn't work. Now it was a rapid, like coming, oh, that's a failure to feed. Ran the slide and went back, and just continued to shoot. And the RO was like, "Man, you did that in less than half a second," and it had to be more than half a second. had to be. I didn't ask him to run the timer to actually, let's look and see how fast that actually was. Um, and then they said, well, since you had a malfunction, you can have a reshoot if you want to. And I looked down at my targets and saw a plus 3 point hit on one of the far targets. Yes, I'd like the reshoot, please.
Ah, okay, so let's talk about that malfunction clearance. So you did a diagnostic, even though failure to go bang is not a diagnostic clearance. It's a non-diagnostic immediately go
Yeah.
into. We'll talk about that in a
Yep.
second.
Yep.
And because you took the time to look at it, right, you knew what you had to do, which was
Yeah.
deviate from the traditional clearance for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you thought it was seen as fast, but you thought
Yeah.
it was slower than what was described.
Well, there's no way in the world I could have done all of that in half a second.
Right. Okay.
Because, I'm at full extension firing. I pressed the trigger. Excuse me, my full extension firing. I felt it like, that's not right.
Yeah.
I don't think I even pressed the trigger. I said, that's not right. I dropped down and looked, saw it, quickly ran the slide and went back up. I would buy 3/4 of a second.
Okay.
I'm thinking it was probably closer to a second.
Okay.
And now thinking back now, I wish I had asked you, but let's look on the timer and see what that was, because that would have been a good data point
Mm-hmm.
for what was an actual live malfunction clearance in the wild.
Not
Um,
expected, not like,
right,
let me see how fast I can clear it, knowing it's coming.
right. And I wish I had done that, but it was. Well, I can go back and look on my sheets and see what my time was and get kind of an estimate, because they wrote down the time for the string. And
Okay.
when I did the reshoot, they just put one line through it and wrote the new time beside it. That string was about a second longer than the other strings in that run. Whether it was, 0.75 or 0.83 of the second, I can't tell you. I'd have to go look at it and see, but it was probably close to a full second.
Okay. So I think that would have been an interesting data point because it wasn't planned, right? I think when we do some of this stuff
Hmm.
in training and practice and we know we're going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Um, it creates an unrealistic expectation of the time
Uh-huh.
um, to run it that way. I did a performance shooting class with Citizens Defense Research this last May. So Melody
Mhm.
Lauer, is it Alex Clark? It's K.A. Clark, Alex Clark.
Kurt.
Kurt. Okay. And we were running one drill that was X number of shots freestyle, Y number of shots strong hand only, Z number of shots weak hand only. And I had a failure to fire on the weak hand only stage. And this is one of those few times where I actually wish
Hmm.
somebody was running video,
Hmm.
because it was click, oh, smash the mag onto the thigh,
Yeah.
invert the gun, hook the optic, run it, come back up and shoot. And they were like, that was amazing. Like, and I didn't make the time on that string because of it, right? So
Yeah.
it was smooth, but it may not have been like incredibly fast because it wasn't anticipated. And it was like, okay, fortunately, I've done these before. The brain had a place to go, right? So I
Yeah.
think it's more interesting when we see what the times are when it's unplanned.
Yeah.
Versus,
I think the biggest aspect is the recognition of what's going wrong.
yeah,
And I didn't waste any time. I didn't like, well,
mm-hmm.
this gun never does that or whatever. It's
Right.
like, oh, and back to work. Um, and yeah, I talked about that with Spalding. He says, not how fast you clear the malfunction, it's how fast you recognize it for what it is. And then clear, and that's the same thing for, I think we always argue about the presentation from the holster. It's not how fast you can draw the gun from the holster, it's how quickly you recognize the
that,
situation that you're in.
that you need to draw the gun from the
Yeah.
holster.
Yeah.
Um, I I think the emphasis, this is a personal thing, I think the emphasis needs to be on techniques that are surer,
Yeah.
not necessarily faster, right? Yeah, I get it. Fast is nice, and we're in a world that's driven by speed. I want stuff that works as close to 100% of the time as possible,
Hmm.
because let's say it takes me 0.75 to do a tap, roll rack, and assess. and it takes me 0.5 to do a rack and assess. Right. But if that first one doesn't clear it, now I have to do another one.
Yeah.
Right.
Now you're at 0.75 again. Yeah.
Or I have to throw tap roll rack on top of it because I missed the fact that the magazine had become unseated.
Right.
Then it's not faster. It's taking me longer because it also
Right.
wasn't surer. Right. So
Right.
that starts getting far afield, but I'd rather have something that works as close to 100% of the time
Yeah.
than have something that's faster the majority of the time.
Right. Um, yeah. Those of us who have been on law enforcement ranges, we see the magazines come unseated pretty regular.
Yep.
And I think this especially plagues you wrong-handed people more
Oh,
so
yeah.
than us because why? The mag release is exposed to the outside.
Well, and I've
Um,
had that discussion. I've written it up. When I was a baby deputy, left-hander carrying a semi-auto pistol, the leather holster, and it was a very high quality leather holster at the time. And if I were to go back to leather, that's one of the 3 companies I might buy leather duty rigs from. Probably two. Yeah, it'd be two would be them. Um, it didn't completely cover the mag release, but it didn't completely leave the magazine release alone. So it was like the edge of the leather ran across the center line. And until I went to a different holster down the road, once a shift at least, I'm finding the magazine unseated. So very early on, my getting out of the car was involved. About the time the door came open and I let go of the door handle, I would end up grabbing the pistol frame between my index and middle finger and pushing them on the base of the magazine with my thumb to make sure it was seated. Um, I have seen a number of people partially eject a mag because of a compromised grip.
yeah.
Right. It's not uncommon. And I know the whole just bypass the tap and go to the rack gets discussed, but I can remember I was still out in California doing a low light pistol class. I think it was the last one I did out there, and had a student he's probably trained with more people than I have asked me about that because he had just come back from a class from an instructor guy I think very highly of, who bypasses the tap and goes right to the rack. And he asked me about this and I gave him my thoughts. That night we had at least 3 of the students have magazines come unseated at some point, go for the rack and get a click, and then
Yeah.
have to go back and repeat the process.
I've seen it in some of the pancake style holsters that if the person has an extended mag release on their gun, that the compression of the pancake style holster, especially if it's an IDBB, will press the mag release just enough to dislodge the magazine. I had a very uncomfortable thud once in a public bathroom, yeah. And thankfully it turned out not to be so bad because this was the time I was going to TACCON. I think I've told this on the show before. Was going to TACCON and was packing up all my stuff, and Tom wanted me to teach revolvers that year. And so I had packed all my revolver stuff and everything. And usually what I do is I carry, one gun and I have another gun that I set up for my training and stuff. And I said, well, I'm running out of space. And so I'm just going to carry I had a Glock 19 Templar Custom that I'd actually won at the instructor drawing previously out there.
Was that the
And
Bowie one that he did for Spalding?
No, it was a
Or
Templar
close to it?
Custom. It was Templar Custom. Yeah.
Okay.
Spalding used to have a relationship with Templar Custom, and then that went south. They needed more Bowie.
Never mind, just asking.
Yeah, yeah. But that was my main uh, like match gun, so to speak, for years. And I said, well, I'll just carry this gun and I'll just swap out ammo to shoot the match. Well, it had an extended mag release on it. And I actually got on the airplane with that gun because I could fly armed with a JM Custom Kydex Model 3. And I love the holster. I'm not dissing the holster whatsoever. How I managed to fly all the way from Atlanta to Dallas and not had that magazine drop out on the airplane, I don't know. But I landed in Dallas and went to go to the bathroom. It was like,
yeah.
And I think what it was under, I had tucked my shirt in around it to try to keep it hid a little, in my undershirt a little more hidden, and just keep it riding up. And dadgummit, it happened again on that trip. And so since I had carried my 3-inch model 65 to
Okay.
teach the revolver class with, I came back from Dallas to Atlanta carrying my 3-inch 65 with ball ammo in it because I didn't have had defensive ammo for it with me. And I was like, well, yeah, I might get killed in the street for this, but this is a better choice than having my magazine fall out
Oh
and
yeah.
getting all the stuff that would come along with that.
Embarrassing moments with Glock pistols. So there was a time I carried G17 at work for about 3 years. It was
Hmm.
because I put the department in Gen 4 17s to deal with our
Hmm.
40 cal issues. So like, okay, I will carry one, even though this is not my choice. I did it, right? Which meant I was carrying a 19 in plain clothes or off duty. I was
Yeah.
down in Anaheim for a field training officer supervisor class that I had to take. Um, and there were not a lot of meat eating Neanderthals in the class, right? Um, there were a lot of herbivores. So I was probably one of like four people that I was pretty sure were carrying guns in the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I had an extended factory extended floor plate on it so I could get another 2 rounds in the gun. And at
Mhm.
some point, the second afternoon of the class, that floor plate decided to part ways with the magazine. The floor plate, the spring, the follower, and about 8 rounds ended up on the ground at my feet. Like, and everybody heard it and saw it, right? And now it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was joyous. That
Yeah.
was special.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I don't like extended, extended
Yeah,
round full plates and stuff on one because I dropped one time and when it hit the ground,
yeah.
it split, and that was also in a public bathroom. And when it hit the ground, the floor plate split off and it launched rounds everywhere. Thankfully, I was the only one in there and I managed to collect them. None of them like rolled into the other stall next door, somebody else in there, or anything like that. And I was like, oh, I don't want these.
Yeah. At
Um,
least right now, it's the stock mag for that gun in it, and then I'll carry a
mhm,
full. If I'm carrying a compact, I'll carry a full size magazine, right,
mhm,
as my spare. So
yeah. All right. Well, before we hit the record button, we were talking a little bit about staccatos and MMPs.
yeah,
And this is now probably the appropriate time to point out that we are 2 months and 8 days past the quoted delivery dates, Smith and Wesson. I think this is the third podcast I've done this on, like not just like third episode of this show, like the
yeah.
third podcast I've done. Smith and Wesson. Um, 2 months and 8 days past the delivery date that you quoted, and that I've already paid for and have not received. Um, I did give some thought into just giving the staccato that runs off the Glock mags a whirl. A couple of my coworkers, colleagues have them, and I've played around with them a little bit. Kind of, you know what? This is a growing trend. It's not something that I really want, but I'm seeing it so much. Maybe I need to give it a whirl just to be maintain some fluency on it, so to speak. But then I was like, nah, I don't want to. But I did want to give something else a try. And so I ordered a full size MMP that's factory cut for an RMR because I've got several RMR footprint optics
Welcome to
laying
the dark
around.
side.
And plus, I'm still having some support hand grip issues from the last surgery. It's resolving, but they told me it was going to be at least a year minimum. Um, but that's for like office worker type folks, not for people to shoot guns.
Yeah.
And I'm finally starting to get all the dexterity back and everything. But the M&P grip is a little narrower at the front than the Glock, and I thought maybe I'd
Mhm.
be able to grip it a little better. So I gave that a try. Um, but you and I were talking about both M&Ps and the staccatos, and you were
Yep.
mentioning the new one with the 19 size magazine.
Yep. So Staccato last year at SHOT came out with the HD-P series. Originally, it was the 4, then the 4.5 inch, then the 3.6 inch, and now it's the HDP C4X, which
Mhm.
is a G19 size mag frame, right, compact frame with a 4-inch barrel that has a built-in compensator on it. I think that is a viable package. I only have a couple mags through it that I shot at the LE day. I held off on this getting one of those HDs for an article for a review until they came out with a 4.5 inch barrel on it. I bought and kept that one. I like it that much. My original Staccato P, I had to have a grip reduction done on it because it was just too big for me. The HDPs don't have grip safety on it. So the grip is that much smaller right out of the box, right? And it does away what was my one complaint with a lot of Staccato shooters, the P series guns, who weren't familiar with the grip safety, and so they were taping down the grip safety on the gun.
Yeah.
And then I was running into people who were also not using the thumb safety on the gun. So this does away with it, in that it takes away those issues. I like it. So when I'm looking at that C4X, that smaller one, it's compact size like the M&P compact that I normally carry. It's the same barrel length. So now you've got a full size gun for teaching on the LE side at least, right? You've got a compact gun for carry and for teaching, decent normal human beings that run identical. It's as close to the M&P as I'm going to get, in that it does not have any sort of frame mounted grip safety, but it has a thumb safety like a 1911. So it's running identical to what I'm working with already, right? The one difference is their frame mounted safety locks the slide, the one on the M&P doesn't. And I have a preference for thumb safety guns, having come up carried 1911s for so long, right? That's just my choice. I think there's a lot going for that, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on one.
If they were to do the 19 G19 mag sized grip frame with a 4-inch barrel without a velocity reducer slash loudener, um, I would be interested. But the full 17, G17 size magazine grip frame, and it doesn't
Yeah, it did
feel well balanced to me.
That original version with the shorter barrel and the longer frame didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Concealing a barrel is not an issue, right? It's
Yeah.
concealing the frame. So like one of the things on my 4.5 inches, I popped the magwell off, the aftermarket magwell, and just went down to a straight frame, right? And I would probably do that on the C4X as well, just for concealability. I don't see the need to shave off the time, and I'll have to play with it and see, but I don't see the need to shave off the minimal time that I think that magwell is going to save. Right.
In terms of Glock, I prefer the 19 to the 45 or 17.
Yeah.
For years I've shot the 19 better, and I've got scores from across multiple things to prove it. And it just, the shorter grip frame feels better to me. And so if I could, the only Staccato that would interest me that might get me to come off, like I say, would be the 19 size grip frame with the 4-inch barrel. The one with the 17 size grip frame and the 4-inch barrel, I like better than the one with the 4.5-inch barrel, but it still kind of felt awkward to me.
You see, and I like that full size gun, right? Like from carrying 1911s, from carrying the full size Smiths. I'm fine with that full size.
I've dearly loved my CZP-10Cs. As far as the way they shoot, it is the only gun that I've ever been able to consistently outshoot a Glock 19 with. Other than my old M&P 45s, but I couldn't keep the magazine springs working in the guns. I've been running into durability issues with my P10Cs, and it's gotten to the point where I just can't trust them. Right. And so I'm deeply saddened by that. So that was one of the other reasons for deciding to give the M&P a try. The gun with a little more natural pointing grip angle, everything for some other things I wanted to try. And I guess you could say I was a little bit bored with the Glock after all these years and wanted to try something else.
Yeah. I had a conversation this past week with a very high-end shooter with a lot of practical application experience, who was asking about the M&Ps because he's looking for something that has a more traditional grip angle to match up with the pistols he normally uses, right, for summer carry. when we talked about polymer frames and metal frames. It was fascinating, because this is somebody who's used other pistols, and he was
Mhm.
like, no, I want something that has the same frame angle that my 2011s
Yeah,
did, right? And
yeah,
you get that with the MMP.
yeah. I'm curious as to that 5-inch MMP with the steel frame and with the checkering in the correct spots. The aluminum frame ones don't have checkering where they need to have checkering.
I had an aluminum
And
frame 3.6 inch, and it just kind of confirmed why I didn't go to the 3.6 inch from Staccato.
mhm. Yeah,
To me, it was just barrel length
yeah,
feel. Um,
yeah,
I have the alloy frame Ed Brown version. So it's the Smith frame with everything else from Brown, slide barrel, and everything. I like
yeah.
the feel of that gun. I haven't tried I haven't gotten my hands on one of the all steel guns because I just didn't go by Smith at Shot this year.
Right.
I'm interested in them, but I don't know how much I'm interested in them. Right. And like I had that Ed Brown gun modified by a Smith to use the thumb safety with it. So if the steel ones don't have a thumb safety, then it would be having somebody cut the frame for me to put a thumb safety on.
I must point out that Smith and Wesson announced the 5-inch steel frames and a couple of new aluminum frame guns at SHOT Show, and people already have them in their hands. But a gun that I ordered well before SHOT Show and paid for, I still haven't received. But I'm not bitter.
No,
I'm not
I
bitter.
don't sense that at all, Lee.
I'm not bitter. You're already aware of this because
Yeah.
I texted you about it. I told the distributor to or the dealer to call Smith and Wesson and say that I was going to change my order to a Gen 7 Glock because I might get it before my M&P finally arrived. But oh well. I was at the Glock match today and they had Gen 6s there for demos and I did not go try one.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a Glock.
yeah, I figured that I have handled one, but I figured they would be available, yeah, before too long. I
I've
am
got 10.
excited.
Go ahead.
Good.
No, go ahead.
I am excited that there does appear to be 15 round Glock 48 mags on the
Yep.
horizon
Yep.
in just a short amount of time. Like they're talking like April. Those 48s and 43X are starting to ship with the 15 round mags. Um, if those are backwards compatible or work with the 48 might become my primary gun off duty.
I When I went to buy the Koa, it was a question of do I buy the 19 or do I buy the
Hmm.
48? And the reason I went with the 19 was I already had support stuff for it. It wasn't going to be a question of
Yeah.
going out and buying a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah.
It's just 48 is not something I carry. I kind of stayed with the MMP line for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, I have two 48s. I have one of these original silver slides that I actually
okay.
got before it was released. So that one's probably going to stay in the safe.
Yeah.
And then I've got one of the black ones that was one of the first black ones that they put out, but it was before they started putting the rail on the slimline. Um, I had made up my mind that I was going to buy a 48 Fella, and days later, Glock announced that they couldn't produce enough Koa models and that they were going to limit those to contract sales for now. And so I'm stuck. But 48 Koa with a factory 15 round mag that works,
Yeah. I've
that's
got
probably going to be my primary off duty carry gun.
I would like to see that C4X cut for a Koa optic before I get one,
Hmm.
right? Because what I don't want to do is have to go get a plate for the Koa, which kind of like defeats
Yeah.
the entire point of it. But I've got an M&P, full size M&P with a traditional slide on it that I am just
Hmm.
holding. It's sitting there in the safe. I'm not touching it
Yeah.
until I find somebody, hopefully Doug Holloway at ATEI, who is going to be cutting M&P slides for the Koa.
Now, what I'm considering doing is the M&P that I ordered, if I ever get it, um,
2 months and 8 days later.
2 months and 8 days later. Yeah, it's factory cut for the RMR.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually considering going with like a big competition window optic on it instead of the one I had sitting around, and then getting an additional slide that's either cut for an acro or cut for a Koa. and putting that on there if I'm going to use the gun, and in any kind of duty type class setting. Then I put that optic on it so it'll fit in the duty holster that I bought for it. And then if I was going to be shooting at any matches, just swap the slide. And
The Vortex Defender XL, which if I remember right, does not have an RMR footprint. It has a Leupold footprint. Is a solid optic, right? At
Mhm,
least for my time with it. The Holosun 507 comp
mhm.
optic is another one that is solid as well. So
Um, I've seen some good things about the 407 comp at a lot less money. And then the Gideon Optics makes an RMR cut competition optic that Tim Reedy runs and really likes it.
I haven't had
And
a
Michael,
chance to shoot
yeah,
it.
Michael,
Stuff.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I haven't had a chance to shoot any of the Gideon stuff, in spite of
Mhm.
talking to them at length the last 2 years at Shot. If you're listening, Mike, I still want one.
Mike's been good to me. I have Gideons on two um, 22 pistols. I've got one on a 2245, and then I got one of the Taurus TX 22 compacts that is got the RMSC footprint on it. And
Okay.
so I bought one of the Gideon, I think it's the Judge, the
Mhm.
direct mouse to that pistol. And I put that on, I like that optic for what movie I've used it. Um, for just a fun match gun, I feel
Yeah.
perfectly fine running that to get in. And I can't, I think it's the Granite is their competition optic. They make one that's in an MOS footprint that would directly mount to an MOS slide. Then they got one in an RMR footprint, so that would go on the CMP. It will not fit in the duty holster that I bought for the MMP. Um, so that's why I've been kind of looking at the second slide solution for that. And then I could put the competition optic, but that also kind of defeats the purpose of I bought this with an RMR footprint because I had three RMR footprint optics sitting around not on my gun. Um, Got to just use that.
So, total segue. I
Mhm.
went and looked. I threw up a thing in the Weems Guy Facebook page
All right.
about if I do another episode with Lee tonight, your questions are.
Yeah.
So Nathan asked about the 20 gauge A300.
Oh, well,
I
good. We got that covered.
we got that one
Yeah.
covered. Funniest or scariest things I've seen on the range while instructing in a class. So Jared, these were both in the same class. It was a shotgun class. Um,
Hmm.
a friend of mine showed up with the shotgun he had inherited from Louis Auerbach. I was like, "Why are you shooting this gun?" Right? Oh,
Yeah.
because this, that, and the other thing. He didn't keep the mag cap tight, and the entire gun the entire everything except the stock and receiver ejected downrange at one point during the class. None of it was
Hmm.
damaged, but it was
Yeah.
that same class. I had somebody who was not necessarily a gun guy who couldn't, and this happened twice almost in a row, and it resulted in him going home. Could not keep the muzzle oriented downrange, and like back to back, and I pulled him off the line to have a discussion with him, and his explanation at that point was to raise the muzzle towards the firing line, and that was it. He was done.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Competition shooting a no shoot should be a DQ. Absolutely, I think it should. I'm sorry. I was on to the next question.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
I think if you shoot a no shoot, it should be a DQ. Um, that was from Greg. From Chris, acceptable weapon mounted lights for civilian use of carbine. I'd have to do some research on that. Second question, why the decline of pump shotguns by law enforcement is directly related to the downfall of Western civilization? You are not wrong, sir, but it has to do with the
That
people we're hiring. That could be a whole
that
topic on
and
its own.
that and men quitting wearing fedoras.
Yes. Yes. So there's that. Robert, we will come back to that one in a future one. Zach, that'll be a future one.
Well, now I need to look and see what the next two episodes are.
Yeah, well, the lesson plan development and things about which trainers disagree. One of them,
Okay.
I'll tell you, one of them is malfunction clearances, Robert, like we talked
Yeah.
about. Apparently, that is a disagreement. Um, Nina, We'll address that offline.
Oh,
Robert, separate qual courses for LE handguns and off-duty bugs. I think they should be different because they have different roles. My old agency, I wrote the off-duty backup gun qual to be the same, which is, well, it was, they were initiated differently. They were whatever the gun held into the head at 7 yards, reload and repeat. Because they were more function. Oh
mhm.
God, case law, citizens should know by heart. That's a different story. Boone, that weapon mounted lights and dots is another episode. Ooh, here's a good one. The dynamic marksmanship assessment drill standardized program. Um, and a broader discussion of cops and citizens using practical shooting as practice and assessment. I think that one should be a separate topic. I will say my recent practical application class that involved movement, I ran two of the dynamic marks, two of the DMAD drills in it for the students at the end of the class. I was hoping to run all
uh,
five, but I only got to two. That's dynamic marksmanship assessment drills came out of some guys down in Southern California.
okay, I'm not familiar. We'll have
Yeah,
to.
no, only because the question was asked that way did I hit on it.
Okay.
And then Eric, um, here's another one. The decline of Western civilization began with the move away from the 6L maglite. Standard issue for law enforcement. That was before my time, but I will say the SL20 was a heck of a tool, especially if you could drop in the LED head as a replacement. And I'll leave it at
Oh
that.
man, I remember I graduated the academy, and the lieutenant for one of the patrol shifts gave me a list of things to go to the uniform store and get. And one of the things was we had to provide at that age at the time was our own flashlight. And I splurged and bought the Stinger that had the car charger
Mm-hmm.
with it. And I showed up for my first shift. The rookie walked in with the brand new Stinger light. Like guys gathered around to look at my light, and this well powerful 60 lumen
Yep.
output. And like there was like one guy that was jealous and some other things, and it's like that's one thing that we've seen just dramatically increase technologically wise. You know, I was carrying a Surefire Stiletto Pro,
Mm-hmm.
1,000 lumens, half the size of like it had to go back to Surefire, so I'm carrying just a Stiletto right now. But man, those things are just amazing compared to we used to have these huge lights with very nothing output compared to what we're getting from these tiny little lights now.
Magpul, sorry, not Magpul, Mod Lights Anarch. Their
Hmm.
kind of answer to some of the other smaller general purpose lights out there. Um,
Hmm.
it's got a button on the body up near the head that has like a task light output. And it's got a tail cap on it, which is like, you know,
Yeah.
definitely viable output, USB-C rechargeable. I bought this when they first came out. I am incredibly happy with this little thing, right? And I went from the Stiletto to the Pro 2, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, they're both exceptional lights. So,
There's a very scary, highly placed Surefire executive that lives local to me, and I'm not going to let him catch me carrying anything other than a Surefire.
well, no, that's because he would probably kill you with a toothpick, knowing who it is.
Yeah. He's probably prone to want to do that anyway, but I won't say his name. There was one time where he got into an argument with
Yeah, I'm aware.
uh, a guy cutting grass that believes things, and I went over. The guy thought that I was there to protect our Surefire guy from him. I'm like, dude, I'm not here to protect him from you. I'm here to protect you from him. And the guy was like, "I could, dude, sir, I don't know who you are. I don't know a thing in the world about you. And I'm not questioning your manhood, but I'm here to protect you from him." So let's clean up this grass and let's oh the funny
Yeah,
stories.
take a look at those questions there. There's actually fodder there for a couple, 3, 4 episodes.
Oh, cool, cool. We'll have to look at that and actually plan out some things in the
Yeah, that,
future.
wow, what a concept.
What? What? Yeah, we're coming up on an anniversary. We'll have to do something really big and special for that too.
Yeah.
So I think May is the fifth
Okay.
anniversary of the show. But we're coming up
May
on
has
that.
potential to be busy, but I'll be in the central US to the East Coast,
Yeah.
most of it.
Um, There have been complaints occasionally by some people about the audio quality, saying that I'm more quiet than some of the guests or whatever. I don't know if that's the headset that I have been using. Um, I can't replicate it on any of my devices. Um,
Well, it could just be that you're
but
naturally soft spoken because you're an administrator, and the only time you have to raise your voice is inside an office. Whereas the rest of us actually had to be able to project our voice on the street in the road.
oh, okay, all right. I did my road time too. Did
Yeah,
my
like
road time
six
too.
seconds at a college.
Oh, I did my road time too. I worked patrol at the sheriff's office as well. Uh, yeah, um, I did.
I know. I know you did. I'm giving you a
Yeah.
bad time.
Hey, remember, I skipped lieutenant, captain, and major. I did not get the complete command lobotomy.
Yeah, or the spinectomy or anything
Yeah,
else.
yeah. My first day at the sheriff's office as chief, the sheriff walks in and says, "Hey, look, if there's ever a question as to what to do, just do it over the most aggressive thing that comes to your mind is."
Okay.
All right, all right, okay. Of course, he was there. The highest rank he held before getting elected sheriff was corporal. So we both, neither one of us actually got the command lobotomy. So yeah, I will look at some of those questions and see if we can come up with
Yeah, I think
some
there's some
future
good fodder
episode.
there, especially the DMAD stuff.
Hmm.
I've also heard it
Okay,
as DMAP, but dynamic marksmanship assessment.
okay, I'll have to look that up. I'm not familiar with it.
I'll try to send you a link to a video on it. So
Okay, all right,
it's something I've incorporated in classes.
okay.
Yeah, there's
Um, yeah,
anyway. I think that I yeah.
all right. Uh, on a completely different note, I am going into a doctor for a new physical therapy type thing tomorrow. I have been battling plantar fasciitis in one of my feet for well over a year now. And it starts getting better and then it flares up and gets back
Mm,
worse. And it's to the point that it's starting to affect other parts of me
yeah.
as I walk adjusting the walk for it. And so I got looking online for some different therapy options and everything, and I found somebody local that does them. So I'm
Okay.
gonna give that a try tomorrow. We'll see. Um, I've heard it's excruciating, but it works. So we'll
Okay.
see. We'll see. I may like record it and send it to her so he can enjoy it and see how that goes. But I've had that thought to myself as I put off doing something about my hands for so long. And then
Yeah.
once I finally did it, while I had to go to these protracted recoveries, the pain went away immediately.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping this works. It's like tension release therapy.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what all it entails, other than presumably it releases tension. But what I can tell is that when the foot really starts hurting, I'm having a lot of pain in the lower back as well.
Oh yeah.
And I have, some of the stretching exercises, you stretch the other muscles and it actually relieves the pain in the foot. So there's something about it all being tied together. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that works more and seeing how that goes. I hope it's a one and done thing and not something I have to go back for constantly. But we'll see. We'll see. Well, what else you got coming up?
Thank you. I'm glad you asked, Lee.
Mhm.
CougarMountainSolutions.com is the company. Um, so TACCON at the end of the month,
Mhm.
April. Firearms Academy of Seattle for 2 days of shotgun. Then I've got a Utah State LE match, but then I'm on calendar down in Shreveport, Louisiana for 2 nights of low light pistol, low light carbine, hosted by an LE agency, but it's open enrollment. All right.
Mhm.
So nobody gets enough low light stuff. Um, Here's a chance for decent, normal human beings and cops to interact on the range. Right. I really hope this one goes.
Yeah.
Then I'm doing a girl and a gun, and I think you are too, or at
Mhm.
least you're on the books for that. Okay.
Mhm.
May. Doing hopefully an extended road trip. Chicago for 3 classes, uh, intro to shotgun, practical application handgun, and then low light handgun. Heading down to Bloomington, Indiana for a LE low light pistol instructor class. I'm sorry, low light instructor class. That's going to be handgun and shotgun. Sorry, handgun and carbine. It's LE only. That's the host agency range limitations. and then it's off to the Civilian Marksmanship Program facility at Talladega. Did I say it right? Talladega?
No, it's
No,
Talladega.
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 Okay. Alabama for red dot pistol mounted optics foundations and then pistol mounted optics practical application, right? So the plan is to drive that whole loop. Hopefully those will all
Mhm.
fill. So that's April and May. All right. In June, end of June, I'll be up in the Northeast US for a Massachusetts, New York, and Pennsylvania swing 7 weeks worth of classes.
Cool. I have TACCON at the end of March. In April 18th and 19th, I have enhanced coaching skills, which is basically a continuing education class for currently certified firearm instructors.
Okay.
You need to be either a range master certified instructor or some sort of law enforcement firearms instructor. Um, and if you got something else that you think qualifies, reach out to me and we'll make a case by case decision. That's going to be at a very nice indoor range in Buford, Georgia, which is metro Atlanta ish indoor range. So we don't have to worry about weather. When we announced it, 5 spots sold. Boom, first day. And I thought, oh, wow, this thing's going to fill up. And nothing is sold since those first 5 spots on that first day. I had a couple of nibbles, people reaching out about it. Um, I'm hoping that as it gets closer, there's a little flurry of registrations. Um, and as typical, we post the class and somebody says, "Well, when's the next iteration of it going to be?" Well, unless this one sells well, there won't be another iteration of it. Um, I've got a girl and a gun, and that's the first weekend in May, right?
Yeah. And well, I'm doing their lecture day, their classroom
Okay,
presentation day,
yeah,
and then rolling over and doing all the live fire weekend.
okay. But I think all the live fire stuff's the
Yeah.
first weekend in
Yeah.
in May, and then that's all I have scheduled for now, although we know that Cognitive Conclave will be the last weekend in October. We just haven't set up the registrations and stuff for that yet. We need to get that done and,
Yes, you
and
do.
get that and get that out. I guess I'm nominated again this time,
Well,
huh?
or I can run it on my website. I just don't have the ability to do
Yeah,
some of the admin stuff, or at least I don't know
yeah,
how to yet. So
yeah. But we'll get that announced. Now, I don't know if I'm going to schedule more classes or not.
I get
Um,
it.
I had the company humming along pretty good, but I was using every day of leave time to
Yeah.
travel and teach classes and just quite frankly burn myself out physically and mentally. And so I took the time to go do the graduate program that I did at OSU and then had the second hand surgery and both the eye surgeries and everything. And by that point in time, I was a year out.
Yep.
And then when I changed jobs and everything, I'm now approaching 2 years without having done an open enrollment class. And I don't know that I have the oomph in me to fire up the marketing machine and everything to start trying to push the retail classes again, um, and trying to deal with all the booking and the traveling and all that kind of stuff. So I may do some stuff locally, but I'm probably not going to hit the road again. So,
Yeah. And that's another interesting thing. I'm finally tentatively going to do
mhm.
a second Utah class. Same host, probably like restricted to
Yeah,
the same
yeah,
organization, but it's I can travel from Washington to Georgia to teach, right? But like teaching in my own
yeah,
backyard, like impossible.
yeah, yeah.
So okay.
Uh, I did really good locally for a long time, and then range access became an issue.
Yeah.
And like I had no need to travel.
Yep.
And it was like if I wanted to do a class, I did one local, it filled up.
Yep.
And, it just, I had no interest in traveling whatsoever. And then range access became an issue for me locally, um, just because the range I was using was starting to get booked by other things.
Hmm.
And my schedule did not allow me to do like long-term planning.
Right.
And so, and I had host was the guy that owns the range, very good friend of mine. It's like, look, dude, you got to do what you got to do for your range. If you got people that are like showing up wanting to book for a weekend, whatever, you go ahead and book.
Yeah.
And then if there's weekends available, I'll try to fill in. And but it made it sometimes where just when I was available to do a class, the range wasn't open. Um, and so Actually, when I moved into the training spot at the SO, I started doing more travel for a while. And like I said, I was using every off day to teach a class, and that just was not a sustainable pace to you know to do. And I teach all day every day now, and doing it on the
Mhm.
weekends sometimes just this is such a fickle, I don't know if you call it an industry or a community or whatever, is that if you take the foot off the gas for a moment, you become yesterday's news. And if you
Oh yeah.
try to start back up, you've got to build the name recognition and everything back. And I did that once before I got the company up running pretty good. Then we had a contested sheriff's election. I basically had to shut down for 9 months
Yeah.
while the sheriff was campaigning. And then it took me a year or so to get it fired back up again. And then it was humming along. And I just don't know that I've got it in me to try to fire that up again.
Yeah. Understandable.
And so I may limit my open enrollment, well, not necessarily open enrollment teaching, but my for the private citizens may just be
Scheduling of open enrollment.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just may be conferences and stuff and the like for now.
Yeah.
We'll see. I never did do the beginner level classes. Like all my stuff for my private company was people that sought me out for specific stuff that I offered or
Mhm.
whatever. And I did some like off the beaten path courses. I never really did the intro level firearms classes. And if I could get some range available, that might interest me. I might like to try to play that a little bit. But trying to get out there on the full spin, like out in the competitive market space over it again, I'm just not going to do that.
It's like for me, I have no desire to teach concealed carry classes,
Hmm.
right? Permit classes.
Yeah.
But I'd love to in Utah, not a knock on them. I just find it odd. They
Hmm.
don't require any shooting.
Yeah.
It's classroom class. Here's your permit.
Hmm.
Um, but I would love to be able to do the skills stuff locally,
Yeah.
right? Working from concealment, all the things that go
Hmm.
with that. But it's just trying to find a place I can get into out here. So
Yeah. Well, the problem I run into here locally is the ranges that I can access are all like an hour to an hour and a half
yeah,
from downtown Metro Atlanta. And to Metro Atlanta people, if you're not Metro, you're in the boondocks.
yep,
Even though there is an outdoor range in Metro Atlanta that they will all drive across Metro Atlanta to get to, and it's the same drive if you get on the interstate and go the other way. It's the same amount of time in the car, but they view one as, oh, that's not far away. It's just on the other side of Metro,
yeah.
versus the other one. That's an hour outside of Metro. And I most of the ranges in the Metro Atlanta area have their own in-house guys, and they don't want competition.
Oh, I'm aware of that concept.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And even though we could both make money on it, they don't want the competition on that. And it's fine. They're the ones that invested the money for the infrastructure. Um, yeah, that's their deal. If they're happy, then they're happy. All right. Anything else before we sign off?
No, no.
All right.
I think we made it work on really short notice.
There we go. It's
I should have actually like had that post up
yeah,
on Facebook and catching it versus like, oh, let me go check it now when we're almost at
yeah.
the end. But at least we hit
Well,
the A300 question.
there you go. That was what we planned to talk about from the start, then to
Yeah.
see where it went from there. But there's some good show ideas in that. Really, kind of the lesson plan one may be one we can elaborate on.
Oh yeah,
Be good.
I think the dynamic marksmanship assessment.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think the discussion about lights and dots on concealed carry guns is always worthwhile.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, yeah, I think there's stuff there for a couple,
Yeah.
3, 4 episodes. So
Yeah. As a teaser for that, I have noticed something in force on force encounters with lights on guns that I will save for that episode. And with that, Eric, thank you for jumping on here with 24 minutes notice, even though Hearn couldn't make it in five. And to the audience, we know that your most important asset is your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with us.